Time for business now for you. And Democrats and Republicans in Washington, they're stepping up their fight over the debt ceiling, and the deadline is looming. Charles Pellegrin is here with the latest installment. What's happening today, Charles?
That's right, Stuart. In just under a month's time, the U.S. government will be in a position where it won't be able to make its payments unless Congress somehow finds a way to lift the debt limit or suspend it entirely. The issue here is that Congress is divided between the Republican-held House and the Democratic-controlled Senate. Now, finally, initially, the ruling Democrats said they wanted to raise the ceiling without any conditions, but Republicans objected to that and managed to unite behind a bill in the House that would raise the limit in exchange for cuts in government spending and changes to signature policy by Joe Biden. On Tuesday, House Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, you can see him here, said his caucus may have found a way to raise the ceiling without the approval of Republicans in the House, but this requires the Senate passing a bill of its own. And for Democrats to do that, they would need the support of at least 9 Republicans in the Senate. And GOP Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell shot down that idea last night.
There is no solution in the Senate. We have divided government. The American people gave the Republicans the House. The Democrats have the presidency. The president and the speaker need to reach an agreement.
Moving on now, regional lenders in the U.S. continued their slide in the stock market on Tuesday despite the takeover of First Republic Bank by J.P. Morgan. While J.P. Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon said the rescue, quote, pretty much resolves the banking crisis, he did say there could be another smaller rescue to come. And this was enough to send shares falling for a number of lenders like PacWest, Western Alliance, or Comerica. As you can see, down 27%, 15%, and 12%. PacWest and Western Alliance, similar to the now collapsed Silicon Valley Bank and Signature banks, because of huge outflows of deposits and exposure to higher interest rates hurting the value of their long-term assets. Let's take a look at the stock markets now. Investors in Europe awaiting the rate decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve later this Wednesday. Most forecasts predict a 25 basis point increase in the continued fight to tame inflation. Markets reopening higher. As you can see, the Paris CAC 40 up just under 0.5%, and the FTSE in London up just over 0.5%. And France's BNP Paribas, the biggest bank in the Eurozone, doubled its profits in the first quarter of the year. The lender made capital gains of just close to 3 billion euros with the sale of Bank of the West, its retail division in the U.S., or former retail division in the U.S. This allowed the French bank to beef up its capital and liquidity buffers at a time of turmoil when the sector is striving to restore confidence. Next, a U.S. court has cleared the way for Venezuela's most valuable foreign holding to be seized and sold off. Texas-based Citgo is a majority owned by Venezuelan state-owned oil firm PDVSA, whose creditors are seeking restitution in the wake of a $1.7 billion bond default. U.S. sanctions aimed at weakening Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and boosting the country's political opposition had been protecting Citgo, but that shield looks set to drop, as Brian Quinn explains.
Venezuela's top foreign asset on its way to being seized by creditors. The U.S. Treasury Department says it will no longer protect Citgo Petroleum from having its shares auctioned off to settle outstanding debt, a decision denounced by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
With outrage, we reject and repudiate the theft of the company Citgo by the government of the United States and by the opposition United Platform of Venezuela.
Citgo is the U.S.-based operation of Venezuela's state-owned PDVSA oil company. Its American network of refineries, pipelines, and gas stations is worth an estimated $13 billion. Last year, it generated a record $2.8 billion in profits. In 2019, the Trump administration handed control of Citgo to Venezuela's political opposition, part of sanctions on the Maduro government. Till now, those sanctions have also blocked creditors from seizing Citgo assets in the wake of a default on $1.7 billion in PDVSA bonds backed by its Citgo stake as collateral. But with Venezuela's opposition now in disarray, its parallel government dissolved, its one-time leader Juan Guaido fled to the U.S., American officials appear ready to allow a forced sale, in particular to cover losses at bankrupt Canadian mining venture Crystalex. That sale is still likely months away as regulators examine details. It's also unlikely to cover all of Venezuela's defaulted bond debt, estimated at some $60 billion.
And Forbes magazine has released its rankings of the world's highest paid athletes, and Portuguese football star Cristiano Ronaldo tops it. His move to Saudi Arabian club Al-Nassr nearly doubled his annual playing salary to $75 million and also generated new marketing opportunities for brands interested in partnering with Ronaldo, especially with his combined 850 million followers on various social media platforms. Looking at the rest of the ranking, the top three is completed with two other footballers backed by Middle Eastern oil and gas-rich nations. This is Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe, both playing for Qatari-owned Paris Saint-Germain. LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers and Mexican boxer Canelo Alvarez round up the top five. And the two golfers as well in the top 10 as well, Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson, both of whom, big surprise, joined the LIV Golf Tour, which was launched with Saudi Arabian funding as a competitor to the PGA Tour's tour.
That does explain it. I was thinking golf, really? Okay, now I understand. Thank you very much. Shel Pellegrin with the business for us on France 24.